Hi guys, so today we'll be talking about reported speech and transformation of sentences in the reported speech. So let's take an example. What if you are talking to your friend on the phone, you're having a conversation? How would you write down what you said and what your friend said? Would you write it down in some way like this? Imagine you say, I said, how are you? Normal conversation, and then maybe my friend said, I'm fine, right? So is this how you would write it? Maybe. If you do, then what you're basically doing is you're taking the exact words that were said by you and your friend and you're placing them in the sentence like this. When you take the exact words spoken by someone and you directly write that down, you call this part of the sentence direct speech. So here we have direct speech. So direct speech basically is the kind of speech in which you take the exact words that someone has said and you write them exactly how they're said. So this is useful when you want to quote something that somebody has said exactly in the words that they have narrated. For example, imagine you're listening to a speech by a president or a prime minister or some celebrity and you want to write down exactly what they said, then this would be a good way to do it. You'd put them in quotation marks and say that maybe the president said, then you put quotes and you write down whatever they've exactly said. Now this was for direct speech. What if I want to say the exact same thing but in a different way and I don't want to say the exact words that were told by me and my friend? How would I write that? Let's see. Perhaps you could write, I asked my friend how he or she was. Right? In this case, I've said the exact same thing over here. I said, how are you? And here I asked my friend how he or she was. It means the same thing, but I've written them in two different ways. In the first part, I used direct speech. In the second part, I've actually converted the direct speech into something we call reported speech. So reported speech is the kind of speech that tells you what something was said without using the exact words. Or we also call it indirect speech. Right? So now that we know what direct speech and what reported speech is, let's take a look at the rules for changing sentences in the direct speech to sentences in the reported speech. So rule number one, let's take an example here. Imagine I have the sentence, David said, I am going, right? So, I am going, David said. We can clearly see that the exact words stated by David were, I am going. So, we know that this is in which speech? Very good. It's in the direct speech because we've exactly placed the words that David has said. So, rule number one for changing it to reported speech is that you get rid of the quotation marks. So we have to get rid of these two things and we need to get rid of the comma before the direct speech. So David said, I am going. Let's remove these and then we'll move on to the next rule. The next rule states that we can, remember we can means it is optional to use a that before or between the reported speech and the direct speech. So here in this case, we had the reported part was David said. It's not in quotes, so it's not direct speech. And this is the direct speech part, right? I am going. So if you want to change this whole sentence to reported speech, I could, if I wanted to, place a that in between these two parts. So that would become David said that he was going. So you can clearly see what I've done here. I've placed a that in between. If I want, I can remove that. It depends on me if I want to or not. So David said he was going would make equal sense to me, right? David said that he was going. David said he was going means the same thing. Now the third rule is that when you have direct speech, you'll see that I've started with a capital letter, similar to using the capital letter here or the capital letter here. So whenever we want to convert direct speech to reported speech, we have to change the capital letter to a small letter in the reported speech, except for I, because regardless of whether it's in the direct speech or reported speech, I will remain capitalized. So example, in this sentence here, you can see I asked my friend how he or she was. So how, for example, became the small letter over here. So remember to remove the capitalization other than for I when you use reported speech. And the last part is your pronouns. Now, depending on the reporting verb that you have and the pronoun of the reporting verb, you have to change, or you might have to change the pronoun of your direct speech. So we'll look at that one by one. Let's take a look at an example of a sentence in order to understand how we change pronouns when you're talking about direct to reported speech. Imagine I have a sentence like this. She said, I have to leave. Right? So we have the sentence here. She said, I have to leave. Now, what is the reporting verb here? Now, the reported part is she said. Therefore, the reporting verb here is said. And she is the pronoun of the reporting verb. And the pronoun of the direct speech here is I. Right? Now, when you have a pronoun in the direct speech in the first person, which is in this case. So we have this in the first person, right? Can you name me any other pronouns in the first person? I, me, we, right? Our, all of these are first person pronouns. So I here is in the first person. Then you take a look at the pronoun of the reporting verb. If it is in the second person, or in the third person, as in this case, right? This is in the third person. He, she, they. Then you have to change this pronoun of the direct speech according to the pronoun of the reporting verb. So if she said something, then I have to use she again to introduce the part that she said, or to introduce what she said to me. So she said, I have to leave will become, she said, she had to leave or has to leave. Right? So in this case, you can see what I've done. I have changed the first person pronoun based on the pronoun of the reporting verb, and I've turned it into she. So you have to understand from the point of view of the speaker and the hearer what the relationship is going to be, because she is saying something about herself. So if I am saying she, it will remain she because she has said something. Awesome. So this part was about first person pronoun in direct speech and third person pronoun for the reporting verb. What happens if you have a sentence like this? We said, we did it, or we won. So if you have a sentence like this, you can see here that we is in the first person, and you can see here that the pronoun of the reporting verb is also in the first person. So in this case, we don't change it. So it remains the same. All you have to do to change this into the reported speech is write, we said, again, we had won. So is that clear to you? So if you have the pronoun in the direct speech in the first person and the pronoun of the reporting verb in the first person, then we don't change the pronouns. Now, what happens when you have a second person pronoun? Let's take a look at an example. If you have something like, he said to me, you lied. So in this case, you can see that we have a second person pronoun you for the direct speech. Now, whenever you have a second person pronoun, it will be changed according to the object of the reporting verb. So, he said to me, he is the subject, said is the reporting verb, and me is the object. So, if I have you here, it will change according to me. So, how should I change this sentence to the reported speech? It will be he said that, if you don't want to use that, you can delete that. He said that I, which is related to me, right? So when I'm talking about me, I have to, if I say you is in the second person, I will be in the first person. So he said that I had lied. So you can see what we've done here for the second person. It changes according to the object of the reporting verb. Now, if you have a sentence in the third person, for example, if I have a sentence like this, let's say, they said, they are well, for example. So if I want to change this into the reported speech, then it would not undergo any change. You have they and you have they, so we say they said they were well. Same, you can see that we haven't really changed anything. Or they said we are well, they said that they were well. Again, it remains the same in the third person. We don't have any change in the pronoun. So that was all about what exactly reported speech is, what exactly direct speech is, and how we can change, what are the rules that we have for changing direct speech to reported speech, and we looked at the changes that we have in the pronouns in the sentence. So in the next part, we're going to learn about certain other changes that we make when we convert sentences from direct speech to reported speech. Thank you so much for now.